Welcome back to another episode, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Voices of Value podcast, but you already knew that. It's your host, CIZZY, a.k.a. Collar Stutzer, which is kind of funny when you think about what a.k.a. means. It means also known as Collar Stutzer, but that's my real name, so I guess it should be the flip way, but you already know the vibes. Listen, before we move any further in this episode, you already know the vibes, ladies and gentlemen. You must click the notified button. You got to click that notification bell on YouTube so you get notified as soon as an episode drops. The only way for you guys to stay, up to date about what we're doing and for me to make sure you guys are listening and are involved in the conversation is for you to know when episodes are dropping. And again, the only way for you to know that is if you press that notification button, press the subscription button, and share with a friend, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure you do that from me to you. That would be a huge thank you. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move on to big wins in business, local wins in business, and starting with local. Ladies and gentlemen, Foresight. Janae Gamage. I can't say your last name, so if you listen to this, please correct me. But this information just released, I think today or yesterday, was able to secure a $100,000 investment in her company Foresight, which I know before I saw her give a pitch maybe like 2 years ago at Pink Dolphin. I think Pink Dolphin hosting events for, I don't want to say women, so host events where, people who are looking to raise money, who are growing their startups, kind of talk about their business and give a nice little pitch. I saw her give a pitch on her business there, and at that time, I believe she was creating a business or creating Foresight with business credit, fundraising credit. So before, a venture firm or investors go to invest in a company, they look at the credit invest in the company, or before banks go and give money to a business, it's like a way of a business having some type of credit history. Listen, forgive me if I'm wrong about the breakdown of what this business does, but that encourages you guys to go do a little bit more research on what Foresight is and what some of your local startups are doing here in Kansas City. So first and foremost, shout out to Janae. 100K investment. Shout out to you. Number 2, Made Mob. Made Mob is doing a collaboration with UMKC. For those of you who are not familiar with Made Mob, what are you doing? Who doesn't know Made Mob? We've had Made Mob t-shirts, Made Mob hats on the show over the past few weeks, like 2 or 3 times. We've had some guests that have done some photo shoots with them or are involved with the Made Mob organization in their events. So if you're not familiar with Made Mob from watching this Voices of Value show already, then today's the day. Made Mob, UMKC collaboration. They are doing a pop-up either tonight or tomorrow night. And today, for those of you who are listening, are going to be watching this on Wednesday, so the event would have already passed. But they are doing a collaboration with UMKC. They've done collaborations with the Kansas City Chiefs, with the Kansas City Current, and I'm more familiar with one of the co-founders, Mark. Again, Mark, forgive me for saying your last name incorrectly. Mark Laniu. I should know this. I grew up with mad Polynesians, so I should know how to pronounce your last name. But Samoan Rasta on Instagram, always providing some inspiration, some knowledge, events around, business and entrepreneurship and investing in the stock market, investing in real estate. So definitely what do we want to call a powerhouse of knowledge here in the Kansas City area when it comes to entrepreneurship, and always inspiring the youth and throwing cultural events for the community for people to interact, network, and connect. So he always talks about starting out the trunk. And I know Vu Radley, who is also a co-founder at Made Mob or a partner in Made Mob, used to go to UMKC, I believe studied design there potentially. I know I read an article that came out, I believe on Startland News, talking about how he was like, I went into UMKC not knowing anything about design, and here we are 10 to 15 years later, and I am doing a collaboration with them. So I felt like it was important to mention that story in local business wins, because we got to think about starting from the bottom. Like Drake said, started from the bottom, now we're here. And a lot of times, sometimes people look at businesses that are starting to see success. They look at businesses like Made Mom who are collaborating with, major movers in the Kansas City metro area. And they're like, wow, I'm going to start a t-shirt company tomorrow and maybe I can collaborate with the Chiefs. And the truth is, maybe you can collaborate with the Chiefs, but 10, 12, 15 years down the line, it's not going to happen overnight. And I always think it's an important message for Mark to share. We started from the trunk, 10, 15 years ago, we started out the trunk. So those are some of my favorite local business wins this week. In terms of, nationwide, internationally, I thought it would be a better, choice to go ahead and just take out the business news and go ahead and plug the fact that there is some crazy shit going on in the world right now, and we need to send some prayers. Be very mindful of how we, interact with people. Be very mindful of where people might be at emotionally in their day-to-day life, where people's families are from, and the suffering that they might be facing. So obviously we're talking about the Palestine and Israel conflict. So make sure you keep prayers alive. If you have any friends from either one of those countries, Palestine or Israel, or either one of these, cultures, communities, countries, make sure you reach out to them. Tell them you love them. Tell them that you're there for them. Pray for their families. Pray for them. It's an important time for that. We'll come back with even cool, more large, crazy business wins from national and international next week. But for now, let's make sure we keep our prayers and our thoughts with the families who are suffering from this current conflict. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and jump into today's episode, where we're going to be talking about topic number 1, which is going to be imitation meat and the industry of imitation meat. And topic number 2, what are stealth startups? Imitation meat, ladies and gentlemen, you're probably like, what even is imitation meat? If you don't know what imitation meat is by now, I don't know where you've been at. If you're rolling through the Burger King line, if you're rolling through the McDonald's line, if you're rolling through any fast food restaurants or going through Hy-Vee, you see companies like Beyond Meat. You see companies like Just Eat. You see companies like Kind Foods. You see a lot of different massive organizations that create plant-based or, what do they call it? Processed, factory created, imitation meat. So it's supposed to be meat. It's supposed to taste like meat. It's supposed to taste as close to meat as possible, but it's supposed to service the market of individuals who are, maybe they're vegan, maybe they're vegetarian, maybe they're 100% plant-based. And we've seen from 2017 to about 2021, that industry grow massively. Between 2019 and 2021, there was over $5 billion invested in that market. So imitation meat, over $5 billion between 2019 and 2021. That is only 2 years, ladies and gentlemen. $5 billion raised from venture funds and other, capital raising or investment firms in companies who are trying to create products for the imitation meat market. Now, the crazy thing is, the year after 2021, so the year after we look at this market growing extremely fast, $5 billion in funding for companies, rapid growth, a lot of people talking about it, especially during the pandemic, flying off Beyond Meat, flying off the shelves, fast food partnerships, celebrity endorsements. The industry has folded, ladies and gentlemen. In 2022, $565 million of investment dollars in that industry, from $5 billion, rewind. Yeah, so $1.4 billion was invested, was the public offering or the valuation that Beyond Meat went IPO'd at. And then just a year or 2 years later, $500 million. That is it. Invested in the imitation meat market. So the industry folds. Typically, when things like this happen, it's because of a huge, PR mess up. Maybe somebody releases a research paper saying, they found hair in this type of food or something like that, or this food causes cancer, whatever it might be, and then the whole industry folds. Here, it just seems that consumers stopped caring about it as much after the pandemic. It kind of fell to the wayside due to pretty much, some questions about where was this marketing coming from? Was it marketing from these, private interests or these private companies? Were these research papers that are put out there that this imitation meat is supposed to be healthier than real meat actually real? Or were there, some private corporations behind the doors grabbing and manipulating things, manipulating words, manipulating marketing to sell to the mass markets by making it seem like this is a healthier product or this is better for the world? And since consumers were starting to question that, a lot of consumers were like, maybe I don't want to buy this product anymore. Maybe I'll just stick to, vegetables, fruits, carbs, some standard stuff, and not buy these newly created processed foods. The one thing that I've always found really interesting about imitation meats, ladies and gentlemen, is the fact that, yes, they're saying it's supposed to be healthy, but then we're demonizing processed food elsewhere. So if we buy packaged goods, if we're buying ice cream, candy, any of the packaged food items, like what was that company called, Lean Cuisine, or all these little packaged meals we used to send our kids to school with for lunch or breakfast, or the foods that we used to warm up in the microwave in 1 minute for our kids back in the early 2000s that became demonized because they're processed foods. But now somehow the marketing, the PR was so good between 2019 and 2021 for them to invest over $5 billion in foods that are processed and can be warmed up in 2 minutes, just like the foods that they demonized from the early 2000s. So I always found it, confusing. And in the light of that, wanted to share some quotes real quick from Joe Holder, he is the founder of Ocho System, a for-profit health and wellness company, as well as Exercise Snacks, which is also for-profit, and then System of Service, which is a nonprofit focused on helping large corporations connect with the culture and give back to communities in like a dope way. He had a tweet storm talking about the imitation meat market and these processed foods. So I'm going to read from it real quick. So excuse me for looking at my phone, but hidden behind grandiose claims of ethical diets, mind you, this is notes. This isn't word for word what he said, but hidden behind grandiose claims of ethical diets and planetary sustainability, private interests and political biases can yield surprising results. Nutritional deficiencies, biodiversity destroying monocultures, and the erosion of food sovereignty. So really what he's saying here is, listen, behind all this marketing, claiming that it's great for the planet, claiming that it's great for health, is actually the reverse. It's private interests, doing some good marketing. But the reality is there are some, negative impacts on biodiversity, negative impacts on nutritional deficiencies from eating these foods because they're not real foods, they're processed foods. And then, like he says, the erosion of food sovereignty. Another quote he had was, the introduction of lab-made fake meats. Let me say it one more time, zooming in on the face. Fake meats, imitation meats, in the U.S. and Europe, championed for their role in the vegan movement, which has gone way too far. I don't know what to call it, but too far right of the spectrum, right? Just too far to the other side of things. Can be surprising as it reinforces the transfer of political influence on food and your choice of food and the type of foods you buy. And traditional farms and local markets are also losing out on attention and money, and that money is being transferred, and that attention and marketing is being transferred to biotech firms and multinational corporations. So think twice about buying your imitation meat is all I'm saying. I'm not saying that I don't eat this. I'm not saying I've never purchased Beyond Meats. I just want you guys to know this is a business and a health podcast. So I want you guys to know that there might be some negative side effects. There might be, some marketing that's really manipulating you. When we study, Seth Godin has a book, and he talks a lot about marketing versus manipulation. Marketing is teaching somebody that they want this thing because it's going to help them. Manipulation is making somebody think that they want something that really is not going to be a helpful resource to them or might actually end up being harmful. So in my humble opinion, I guess the conclusion from college, from the Voices of Value podcast show, is that imitation meats, and the companies behind them, this marketing is not good marketing. It's just manipulation. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap that topic and move on to topic number 2. which is stealth mode startups, ladies and gentlemen. Stealth mode startups. What even are stealth mode startups? The reason I wanted this to be a topic today is on the Voices of Value podcast show, the majority of our guests have been startup founders, and the majority of our guests are not in stealth mode. And the majority of our guests are publicly trying to share the message of their company, trying to share the mission of their company, and are trying to get the message of what they're trying to do and why their product or service or their technology or their software is valuable to society and why you should buy it in the future or invest in it now. That's kind of the whole focus of the podcast, right? In terms of when we think about the majority of guests that come onto the show. But I wanted to invite a guest onto the show who I know to be a very intelligent entrepreneur, but he wasn't open to sharing much about his business. And I was like, ladies and gentlemen, why is he not wanting to share about his business? In my mind, that's an immediate red flag. He was at a business networking event. I overheard him talking, was involved in the conversation. He was very knowledgeable about the health tech software space, which is a space that I'm extremely interested in. Very well, versed, very well spoken, very knowledgeable. I'll say it again. But when he said he's building a startup of his own and people started asking what it is, he was like, we're in stealth mode. And I was like, what the hell does stealth mode mean? So I was like, I got to go do some research, ladies and gentlemen. So essentially, a stealth mode startup is a secret startup. At the end of the day, you can kind of think about it as the secret service of startups. A startup that is like a secret club. They know what they're doing. They know what they're trying to build, but they're not willing to share that with the public. Now, what are the benefits of being in stealth mode? Number one, you can control public narrative around your company. Sometimes people release their company too early in the process, share with the world what they're trying to do, and then they get some negative feedback, some negative PR. Another reason that it might be good to run a stealth startup at the beginning is that other people steal their ideas who have more money and can invest more money. Let's put it like this. Say I'm interested in creating a wellness wearable, right? So a competitor, say this is before the Apple Watch, and I'm thinking about creating a heart rate monitor that also can track how many calories are burned and how much food I need to eat in the next 2 hours, gives me a macronutrient breakdown of what I need to eat because it's somehow connected to my system and knows what my body's craving, right? So say I come out, I start talking about this product that I want to build. I'm super excited about building it. I'm going to all these meetups, going to all these business entrepreneurship, panel style meetups like Keystone Innovation or 1 Million Cups. And I'm going to all these places, but I don't have any money. I'm just trying to generate interest, get that product market fit, really get a strong understanding of the business I'm trying to build so I can go and raise funds for it so that I can utilize those funds to build my business. Someone else in the crowd hears it though. They're like, I like that idea. And I already have the resources. I already have the investors, the capital, the knowledge. I have the software developers. I have all the resources I need to go build that tomorrow. When I personally don't have all the resources to go build that tomorrow, but because I share this idea, they can take that same idea, run with it, and have a product out in the world in the next year while it might take me 5 years. Whereas if I would have built my startup in stealth mode, I would have been able to do all this in silence, build these relationships, find these investors. Only a select few people would know about the business that I'm building. And when I come out into the world, I might already have $40 million in funding and might be ahead of the game. So anybody else who wants this product or anybody else who wants to start this idea has quite a while before they're going to catch up to me. So it kind of gives you a better idea of why somebody would build in silence. It kind of helps keep their ideas a big surprise, helps them, prepare and not get drowned out by the big corporations or big businesses like Apple or say you're in the social media world like Facebook or Reddit or Twitter. If you have a social media idea and you want to build a social media network, maybe it's not so good to go tell the world on the first day. It might be a good idea to look into stealth startups, how to start a stealth startup, why it might be beneficial for you to launch a stealth startup. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we got to go back to Taylor Swift, ladies and gentlemen. We talked about Taylor Swift last week, but Front Office Sports, which I'm going to pull up right now. Again, excuse me for looking down at my phone, but Front Office Sports, which I believe is ran by one of the, what are their names? Dang. I'm brain farting. They have some really good podcasts. They're super huge in the crypto, Bitcoin space on Twitter. But Front Office Sports released a document kind of breaking down the impact that Taylor Swift had on the Kansas City Chiefs, on Travis Kelce's numbers, and so on and so forth. 400% spike. A 400% spike in Travis Kelce's jersey sales. Listen, T Swift, no matter how you feel about Taylor Swift, no matter your opinions on Taylor Swift's music, no matter your opinions on their dating or the announcers talking more about Taylor Swift than they are about the Kansas City Chiefs on a football game, like live on TV, you got to respect it. 400% spike in Travis Kelce jersey sales. And if you listened to last week's episode, you would know that me and Milad think that it might be a PR stunt. And Taylor Swift is really just doing this so she can silence the talks about her emissions or commissions. Again, I'm going to learn about this green space here soon. And Travis Kelce is just leveraging the relationship to get more numbers, get more podcast listeners, sell more product, and it's kind of just a win-win scenario. But that's not the end of it. Kelce's podcast ranks number 1 overall on Apple now. Kelce adds 383,000 Instagram followers, probably more by now. 24 million viewers watch the Kansas City Chiefs. It was the number 1 game this week, and there was a 63% jump in female viewers between the ages of 18 and 49. Listen, I don't know about you, but if this is a PR agency behind this whole thing, more NFL teams need to figure out how to get Cardi B to break up with Offset and start dating Patrick Mahomes for like 2 weeks, Patrick Mahomes caught at the club with Cardi B. I don't know. Now, I'm not saying this is a good thing. I'm not going to say I promote this greatly, but I will say NFL teams, this might be your new move. You might need to get the star player on your team to start dating superstars. You can't have anybody date Adele because Rich Paul already secured that bag. You can't have anybody date Taylor Swift because Travis Kelce already secured that bag. ASAP already secured Rihanna. Jay-Z been with Beyonce forever. So you guys are going to have to be very creative about who you make that connection with. But I'm not saying it's a good idea. I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but you see what the numbers say, and data talks, ladies and gentlemen. Data talks. Dua Lipa, the singer Dua Lipa, who, by the way, has a huge song out right now that's been popping for like a year that I actually didn't know was a lady. I'm not saying she sounds like a male on the song. I'm just saying I didn't know it was her. Y'all gonna have to comment in the comment section the song name, and I'll tell you which one I thought it was a male behind. But Dua Lipa even tweeted, "Fuck it, I'm gonna get me a tight end, George Kittle. What's up?" And George Kittle is the tight end for the San Francisco 49ers, who is in a very committed relationship. So Dua Lipa out here wilding, but I think this might be a trend moving forward. So let's keep an eye on that. And ladies and gentlemen, please, like we talked about last week, make sure you stop talking about Rihanna moving to Kansas City because she's not moving to Kansas City. Something I was thinking about lately, ladies and gentlemen, was why entrepreneurs in the community don't tap into their university students, okay? So I went to the Economic Development of Kansas City office in the River Market area a few weeks ago to talk with, what was her name? I'm going to remember your name. But let's move on. I went to talk to her, and one of the things she was mentioning is, if you're looking to build a, something in technology and you're looking to build something that requires software developers, don't go so quick to, these Fiverr pages to find random people overseas, and maybe look at your local community. We have a multitude of universities who have computer programming programs at their school. So we got UMKC, we have Avila, we have Rockhurst, we have KU 45 minutes away. I would venture to say that MU is a little too far out. But we also have William Jewell, we have Graceland. We have quite a few universities in the Kansas City metropolitan area, including junior colleges, with students who are interested in software development, or they're already in their 4th year of computer programming and they have the skill set to kind of get you started. Maybe find a co-founder, find somebody to partner with, email the software the computer programming professors at UMKC and see if they have any recommendations of any students that they feel would be a good fit to partner you up with. Not only is it a great opportunity for these students to get experience in the real world and kind of get plugged up with an ambitious entrepreneur that maybe can plug them into the community that they are probably going to end up in a few years later anyways, but it's also an opportunity for you to really invest back in your community. Sometimes you can't invest with capital. Sometimes you don't have the capital to give them, but you can give them equity. They can become a co-founder, and you can give them an opportunity to advance their career, to advance their skill set, and to really get in the trenches and start working. So when she said this, I started thinking, and I was like, you know what? I really need to dive into the ecosystem of universities here in Kansas City, try to pop into some computer programming classes, try to get some coffee shop meetings with some local UMKC programmers or some local KU students who commute from Kansas City to KU throughout the week. I know I used to date a girl who did that, so I know there must be other people that commute from KU back into the Kansas City metropolitan area, and just tapping in with these young kids, man. They're ambitious. They're looking to learn. They're looking for opportunities to practice. And if you're an entrepreneur out there that's thinking about starting a business, but you're coming up with excuses, I don't know how to market. I don't understand digital marketing. I don't understand TikTok. I don't understand how to, I don't understand programming. I don't understand brand. There are thousands and thousands of students who are really passionate about these areas, who have been spending time not only learning in school, but also learning by building on their own on little projects that they're working on, and then also learning from online, who learn maybe way better than you. Maybe they read a book and they retain it all and they know how to put it into action, and you don't. So stop looking at these kids as little crazy kids getting drunk, smoking dope, wilding out, having fun, baking pop brownies. These kids are smart, man. They're very, very smart. They're hungry. They want to get started early. They don't really want to go into the corporate world. So if you give them an opportunity, if you sell them on your vision, you might have somebody that you didn't know, knew everything you needed help with. You might find the plug for your business. They might be the thing that helps you get off the ground, that gives you the energy, takes areas that you've been focusing on. So maybe you're focusing a lot on brand or marketing and you don't have the time for that. That's not your thing. Maybe sales is your thing and just communicating your vision. Maybe they come in and they end up being good at that, or they end up having the time to be ambitious and get good at that while you focus on other areas. All I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, is if you live in a major metropolitan area or a second tier or third tier major whatever word I'm trying to say, majorly populated area. You could be in a college town like Columbia, Missouri. Tap in to MU. There's thousands and thousands of students from all over the country, from all different types of backgrounds, with all different types of ambition and skills. Tap in, leverage your local college community to help build your business, ladies and gentlemen. And before I dived into that topic, I talked about the economic development of Kansas City, which actually has some pretty cool resources for some of the business owners watching this podcast that I do want to plug you up with. So if you didn't know, let's jump into this. If you didn't know, EDC-KC's Economic Development Council of Kansas City's primary functions include site selection and property searches. Let's stop there. When I was having a meeting with the lady that I met with, she was talking about how she had some young kids who were launching a t-shirt design company here in Kansas City, had a whole bunch of merch. They were looking for a brick and mortar space, and they didn't know how to find that small business space. They didn't know who to talk to. They didn't know how to have those conversations. They pulled up on the Economic Development Council of Kansas City, free conversation. They searched properties of the area of town that they wanted to look at, found a property, they got them connected with a realtor, and boom, now they're on their path to starting a brick and mortar company and not being strictly online. So there's plenty of free resources here in Kansas City. Let me move on. They offer short-term and long-term loans ranging from $3,000 to $15,000, which, by the way, without collateral, with 2 years of financials. So if you are a startup or a company who has 2 years of financials, you've shown, I guess you could say, product market fit, and that you can sell, and that there's a community out there that's interested in your product, you can get $3,000 to $15,000 in loans with no collaterals, meaning you don't have to put your home up as collateral. You don't have to put your car up as collateral. You don't have to necessarily have somebody else put up something as collateral. They're just going to give it to you because you have financial proof that your business is viable and might be a source of economic development for Kansas City. So tap in there. I would recommend more people look into acquiring debt and less into giving equity away to big private equity or venture capital firms. I say that with a little bit of bias, but also with not a little bit of bias because Kyle's is low-key interested in going into VC. But anyways, and up to $250,000 with collateral. So if you do want to put something up for collateral, they are willing to give a $250,000 loan. Additionally, they support grant launches with funding opportunities of $10,000 to $50,000, often through pitch application processes, meaning you have to have a business plan, you have to fill out a form online, and then you typically come in front of judges or in front of a certain member of the Economic Development Council or other Kaufman or other fundraising or money giving away people in Kansas City, and kind of pitch your business along with other businesses next to you, and they choose who they feel like should get this capital or who has a more viable business, should I say. So I just want to say there's a lot of resources here in Kansas City. ECDC or EDC, KC, Economic Development Council of Kansas City, and River Market, KC Source Link. Go to their website. There's plenty of resources there. There's plenty of people who are willing to talk to you in the entrepreneurship space here in Kansas City, are willing to help you find funding, willing to help you find, product market fit, willing to help you create a viable business. All you have to do is come with an idea, ambition, and ideally a good business, ladies and gentlemen. So I just think that Voices of Value podcast could be utilized more as a place for me to mention more resources. Maybe it's towards the end of the podcast. Maybe it's towards the beginning of the podcast. Maybe it's just in the description. But I feel like I haven't been providing enough resources for you guys lately. So hopefully you found that valuable. And to be honest, ladies and gentlemen, that might be a wrap for today's episode. What I do want to make sure that you do is that if you didn't at the beginning of the episode, right now you press that notification bell, you press the subscription button, you share the podcast with your friends and family, especially if any of your friends and family are in the entrepreneurship space. We just shared some resources. We just talked about what it is to be in stealth mode. We talked a little bit about the imitation meat market and how it was growing rapidly, and now it's not. But that doesn't mean that that's a bad industry to go into. If you're interested in that community, or you see that there's a problem that you might be able to integrate and fix, maybe you are in the farm to table community and you are like, wow, this is a great opportunity for me to go all in on this because that industry is falling, and you can use that as a selling point to investors or to people who might invest in your business. This imitation meat, it was a fad, it was this, you can manipulate things how you need to manipulate them to get your money. But we're trying to share resources, information, business news, knowledge, tools, tactics, fun conversations to kind of inspire ambitious young people and to inspire local entrepreneurs to chase their dreams and to find the resources and the people they need to go get that bag. So that being said, share it with a friend who might need to hear it. If you enjoyed this conversation, if you want more solo episodes, leave a comment below. If you don't, then comment a guest I should bring on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, y'all got to help me so I can help you. That's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. CIZZY, Salowski.